I still remember the smirk. The kind that doesn't just curl lips. It declares, "You're beneath me." We were in a private dining room at a country club I had no business being in. At least, not according to their unspoken rules. The wine list had no prices, the kind of place where the absence of numbers was its own form of intimidation. My wife introduced him as Uncle Daniel. Not really her uncle, just her mother's cousin. But he carried himself like blue blood, heir to privilege, wrapped in custom tailoring and generational arrogance. He leaned back in his chair, swirling wine as though he owned the vineyard, and asked where I'd gone to school. "High school," I said. Nothing more. The silence was brief, but telling. His eyes darted toward his parents across the table. A glance, a smirk, and then that soft, knowing chuckle shared among people convinced they've just confirmed what they already believed. His mother smiled politely, voice syruped with condescension. "Well, not everyone's meant for college." His father laughed. "Some people just aren't built for certain circles." And my wife laughed too, not nervously, not as a peacemaker. She laughed with them. That's when I knew something in our marriage had already shifted, something she hadn't said out loud. I didn't defend myself. I didn't talk about the companies I'd built from scratch, the patents in my name, the empire I'd created without a degree, an empire most Ivy Leaguers would kill to run. Instead, I smiled like their approval mattered. That's when Daniel asked which bank I used. "Yours," I said. He grinned like a predator. "Then you're in good hands." Still smiling, I replied, "No. I think I'll be closing my account." Polite laughter rippled around the table. Daniel's father shook his head. "We have clients worth hundreds of millions, son. Closing your account wouldn't mean a thing." I just nodded. The kind of nod you give when the ending's already written in your mind. That night wasn't the real betrayal. It was just the moment I saw it clearly. In the weeks that followed, the late-night calls multiplied. She said the dinners were with friends, but she came home smelling of a man's cologne. Not Daniel's, but someone else's. When I asked, she called me paranoid. But I've made my fortune reading people, spotting the tiny fishes they think are hidden. She forgot that. So I didn't argue. I didn't confront. I waited. Quietly, I began to move my pieces. First, I called my private banker, not the one at their bank, but the one managing my offshore portfolio. I told him to start liquidating, slowly, in layers. The money passed through a maze of shell companies I controlled under other names. Then I brought in a forensic accountant, not for me, but for them. I wanted every skeleton in Daniel's father's vault. The debts, the shady loans, the regulatory cracks that could split wide under pressure. 3 months later, I had it all. Their bank wasn't nearly as untouchable as they believed. One sizable withdrawal from a top-tier client could spark a liquidity crisis. I was that client. I waited until the timing was perfect. A gray Tuesday morning in late October. No fanfare, no warning. I walked straight into their main branch. Daniel's father sat in his glass-walled office upstairs. I saw him glance down, recognize me, and quickly look away. The manager greeted me with the kind of patronizing politeness reserved for someone they think is harmless. I handed him the withdrawal slips. "All of it," I said. He read the figure. $7 billion. The blood drained from his face. "Sir, that's not possible without." "Do it," I said, calm and steady. Within minutes, Daniel's father appeared in the lobby, forcing a smile and trying to pass this off as some sort of misunderstanding. "Let's talk in my office," he urged. "No," I replied. "Here is fine." By then, the staff was watching. A few customers, too. I kept my voice low, but every word was sharp enough to cut. "I told you I'd close my account," I reminded him. "You laughed." He stumbled over words about liquidity, timing, how this could cause temporary challenges for the bank. I just signed the final authorization. 28 minutes later, the transfers were complete. Zurich, Singapore, the Cayman Islands, everything ready in advance. When he finally looked up from the documents, the money was gone. The news broke within hours. The stock price started to slide. Analysts whispered about a loss of confidence. By morning, competitors were circling like sharks. A week later, Regulators announced a formal review. But the financial damage wasn't the only wound. 2 weeks after the withdrawal, at the country club's charity gala, I arrived with someone new on my arm. Someone who was not my wife. She had filed for divorce the very next day after I moved the funds, likely assuming she'd walk away with half. She didn't know most of my wealth was already beyond her reach. I walked straight to their table. Daniel, his parents, the board members who once greeted me like an equal. I heard about the liquidity crisis, I said with a pleasant smile. Tough break. Daniel's father's hands shook. His mother looked as if she'd swallowed glass. Daniel tried to speak but couldn't. I straightened up. By the way, Zurich sends its regards. Then I left, before they could respond. I never shouted. I never made threats. I never boasted. The newspapers did that for me. The divorce went through without drama. She got the house. I let her keep it, a monument to what she gave up for a table full of smug faces. People sometimes ask if I regret it. I don't. I didn't destroy them out of spite. I simply demonstrated what happens when someone you underestimate decides to be taken seriously. The most effective revenge isn't noisy or chaotic. It's quiet, calculated, surgical. And when it's finished, the only thing left is the silence where their laughter used to be.